Good morning. It's Ladena Bough from Stockton, Missouri, and we're here today with Trials and Triumphs. I've asked Garry Shidler to come back and speak with us today because we didn't get quite through his testimony last time he was here. We can all rest assured that the elections are, for the most part, over, and we don't have to hear any of that stuff for a while. I'm really tired of the hate and discontent that pops up on the screen every day. It's ridiculous. But anyway, Garry was here last time and he was talking about his upbringing and finding out about his father and his stepfather. Let's see, your stepfather ran a cut shop or
Chop
something.
shop.
Yeah, chop shop. I knew I'd get the word right sooner or later. I'm so glad you gave it to me. And so, even though that was not a legal endeavor, he had plans for you taking over that particular business and running it, did he not?
He did.
And so then somehow or another you ended up getting arrested and they were going to try to keep you a long time. Why don't you tell us about that?
So I've been stealing Mustangs around Laclede County, Lebanon, and when I wasn't doing that, I was selling dope.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for fun, I was robbing storage units, gas stations, just something to entertain myself. They call it criminal addictive excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the police have been looking for me for a while. They've been unable to find me. I happened to be outside. I was high at the time, and I was working on a Mustang. They seen the car and they come up and arrested me.
Mm-hmm.
Then they executed a search warrant on the house. They found files in my bedroom that had birth certificates and social security cards with different people's names and stuff on it. And from there, I ended up with 41 felony counts for robberies, auto thefts, theft of an airplane, trafficking and stolen identities. 256 years is what they were.
256 years, that's amazing. I always wonder if they're going to run these concurrent or if they're going to run them consecutively. Because I saw a guy the other day. He'd got 1,038 years for child abuse, child sexual abuse, and they all have to run back to back consecutive. And it's like, okay, he'll never live that long, but I'm glad he won't get back out on the street.
And I mean, that was my initial thought was I'll never live
Hmm.
that long. And I'm never coming back out.
Yeah. Did you ever go into prison at any point?
I've been to prison 5 times.
Prison five
That
times?
that was that time there would have been was my fifth time going
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They just kind of frown on you coming back all the time, though. It doesn't get any easier, is what my son always told me.
in.
You know the system a little better, but that's about
It's
it.
it gets for me. It got easier.
Mm-hmm.
I was used to being incarcerated. I found comfort in that because at that point I have nobody seeking me. I have nobody looking for me, nor do I have to watch over my back
Mm-hmm.
continuously. I know what's going on. I know where I'm at. I know what's expected of me, what I can and can't get away with. And
Yeah, and they have different rules in prison as
oh
far
yeah,
as how you conduct yourself.
yeah. Well, they have two sets of rules in prison: the guards, what the guards expect, and what the inmates
Mm-hmm.
conduct themselves
And
at.
the inmates' rules are a little bit more difficult.
They're a lot harsher.
Yeah, my son ended up on a section with a bunch of murderers at one point, and it's like, okay, don't make friends. you know, he thought I was crazy. It's like, no, don't make friends with these people.
I had one stint. They sent me into a shoe unit, which is a secure housing unit, and you're literally in a cell. The shower locks to the front of it. You don't come out except for an hour a day, and even then you're in chains.
Hmm.
When they walk you, they let you in a little yard with your chains on. You walk a small area about the size of this room, and
Hmm.
they put you back, and that's it. That was
Yeah.
2.5 years total isolation.
Oh, that's would drive me insane, but that's what they do with so many people. I've got a stepson in prison right now, and he's on that 1 hour a day out in the yard, and he's not enjoying it. But like I told him, I didn't put you there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There are things that you learn to deal with, and it's not his first trip through there, so I can't say anything about it. But anyway, the Lord blessed you with keeping you out of this 200-year sentences.
So out of all the charges I'd had, I'd never been arrested for narcotics.
Hmm.
So I was shocked as we're going back and forth with the pretrial. My attorney's like, no, you're going to prison. You know, we've got the witnesses. They have all this evidence. You're done. That when he come back one day and he said, they want to offer you a 1 year drug treatment. And my response to him was, I've never had a drug charge. Even though I was in that life,
Hmm.
I'd never been caught. So I was just shocked at the fact that this was something that was being brought to me. And he was like, just shut up and take it.
Yeah.
It's a year. And my mentality at the time was that of a criminal.
Hmm.
And my thought was, man, I've done years in the hole.
Right.
1 year in a drug treatment is nothing. In a year, I'll be back out. And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, let's do this. So they sentenced me to that. And I'm calling my stepdad, and I'm like, look, in a year, I'll be back out, have the car ready, keep all my stuff. We'll be back to doing what we do. Let's go.
Yeah.
So that was where we went.
That probably made him really happy. You were going to
Yeah,
be gone
yeah. He
for.
was like, he was shocked that he was like, what's happening? That's cool.
Hmm.
Um, and he was kind of excited at the fact that I'd be home.
Right.
Uh, they did the whole sentencing. It seemed too good to be true. And I stayed on that mentality that man, as soon as I get out, I'm going back to selling dope and stealing. And
Hmm.
when I got to the treatment program, it's real regimented. And, someone that doesn't really follow rules don't handle rules well.
Hmm.
So when you get there, you're walking, you got to have your hands behind your back, got to walk single file, all this. I'm not interested, and I've only got a year in prison, so I don't care.
Right.
So I'm disrupting the program. So the people that do care are having to deal with my disruptions. The counselors and the guards that work the units, they're having to deal with my disruptions. Just me being foolish.
Hmm.
Um, I got a call one day, and they said go out and see the casework manager. And I went out and seen the casework manager, and they read me warrants for Wright County. And I
Oh.
was like, oh, okay. And he's like, so we're going to put it in, get you taken back to court. I call and get the attorney. We get shit back up to Wright County. And I thought, well, that's cool. I got this year. To them about it. They want to give you 60 years. They have eyewitnesses to the robberies. They want to give you the
Hmm.
60 years. And
That would be disheartening at that point.
and I mean, it was disheartening, but in a lifestyle that I've lived, you're used to disappointment,
Hmm.
and you tend to learn to become a conqueror and overcomer, even if it's not in the name of God. You
Right.
you constantly learn to conquer that you're. And my thought was, well, I won't be in that program no more, but now I go to a higher security camp, and I get more of the things that a criminal would want to be able to do: more access to dope, more access to uh,
Alcohol.
alcohol, tobacco, anything it is that I'm wanting to do at the time.
Hmm.
There's more privileges here and there that we can get out of the guards because when they know we're there forever,
Yeah.
they tend to slide a little bit. And he's like, well, they don't care. They want you there at 6 years. And he sent me back to the cell. Told me in the morning they were doing a arraignment. When I got back into that cell that day, the men had gathered around and was doing a Bible study. And I come in towards the end of it. They were doing a prayer. I hadn't talked to God in a long time because of the things that happened previously. And I just wasn't having that conversation with him.
Hmm.
But they went ahead and they were like, hey, we're going to pray, Gary, do you care? And I was like, no, no, go ahead. I'll keep my hand. I bowed my head and they prayed. I remember the prayer because they prayed for good outcome. They prayed for each other's families, each other, and that things was just be as God intended.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the next morning, I went up to be arraigned, and my attorney's standing there, and he says, "I don't know what's going on, but they want to just go ahead and give you the run of drug treatment with it.
Wow.
But you got to be quiet." And I'm like, I don't know how to be quiet.
That's always a hard one for me.
It's difficult for me. Um, and those that are around me can testify that it's very difficult for me to shut up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, does that mean I get to go home in a year? He's like, it doesn't change nothing. You're out of here. Just be quiet with the judge. And so of course we get up there and I plead guilty and they give it to him. And the judges, he's like, I don't really understand why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the prosecutor is willing to do this, but I'm going to concede to their opinion and I'm going to sentence you to this. But of course, I don't be quiet. I'm like, does that mean I'm leaving in a year? And he's like, I don't know about your outdate with DOC or anything like that, but this is what we're giving you.
Right.
I said, all right. They put me in the jury box, and I'm sitting in that jury box, and Sean Randall comes over and he says, Gary, I don't know who you're praying to, but you need to keep praying.
Yep.
And that
Trust
was,
me, not many attorneys will say that.
oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this guy had been dealing with my family for years, so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knows how my family is. And just him saying that in itself was a flooring moment for me. I hadn't prayed in a long time, and it brought me back to memory of that time.
You're right.
So my thought was, man, I need to, between what happened with Laclede County and what happened with Wright County right then, I need to start focusing on what's going on in my life because things aren't adding up. For a criminal, if one and one isn't two,
Mm-hmm.
then you're snitching. Something happens. Something's going on. So I'm using these street smarts as they call it, and I'm like, man, something's not adding up in my life
Mm-hmm.
because I shouldn't be leaving.
Right.
What's going on? And I need to get focused more on God because that's the only thing that I can find in common between the two is it shouldn't have happened, but it did. That's miracle. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. That's miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have happened, but it did. It's miracle. So when these things can't be added up to, hey, I had a good attorney. Hey, they didn't have no evidence, and none of that. You
Yeah.
have to attribute it to,
Yeah, you already knew they had the evidence and
yeah.
the
I mean,
witnesses and
my girlfriend, my buddies, the fiance, they had written statements. We watched the videos of them. I mean, we knew what was being said,
mm-hmm.
so it wasn't like they lacked evidence on anything.
Right.
For whatever reason, they gave me grace.
Mm-hmm. We could all sit around and pray for grace, but you also find out at that particular point which people are not as concerned about your freedom as you are.
Yeah.
So it does cut down on your friend count.
It's got a lot of friends. But you'll find in time that you don't really need all the friends that you thought you had.
Right. There's more things in life than dealing with people that are probably just going to keep you pinned down and knocked down. The people you hang around with make a big difference in life. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things about that journey right there, that portion, that season, was the fact that that it talks about in the Bible, God knows every hair on your head.
Mm-hmm.
They knows everything about you. So when you read that and you think about that, you'll understand this next part. So they send me back
Mm-hmm.
from Wright County and they get me back to this treatment program. Now I'm more focused on God, but behaviors don't end overnight.
Right.
Habits take a minute to stop. Um, our God is a beautiful God, and He knows every hair on my head, and He knows the mischievous child that I can be, but He also knows the servant that lies within me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do good in the program and I was striving to do good, but there's still that little pull. Hey, come over here, smoke a cigarette with me. Hey, come over here and let's have a dice game. Hey, you want to gamble at some dominoes? You know, the things that we wasn't supposed to be doing anyway. Let's go do.
Mm-hmm.
That pull was there. Um, I got another call and go out to see the casework manager, and I thought, oh man, oh man.
What
So
county found me now?
yeah, so I go out there, and Laclede County has two new charges, felony charges on me, and Wright County has two new charges, felony charges on me, and they say you're not going home in a year like you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
I said, all right, and they said we'll put the paperwork in so you can go back to court. I was about 6 months into this program, and as instead of going back to court right away, I just didn't go, which didn't make no sense because I'm like, when's my court date? Well, of course, they won't tell you your court date because they've got to transport you. They're worried someone might try to kidnap you or steal you from the DOC. And
Mm-hmm.
most of us that are in there, our families are happy we're in there. And those that are our friends are grateful that we are in there too, because we were out here doing crazy stuff. And it was just like, hey, what do we do? Why am I not going back? But I devoted myself to studying God, understanding the Bible
Mm-hmm.
principles a little better, talking with the jailhouse ministers and the chapel, and just reading, studying. I got really stuck on the fact of Christ saying that we'll do greater things than He.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, man, you brought Lazarus from the dead, but what's going on here? You know, I'm not going to bring nobody from the dead. And when I sit on my bunk, God talked to me, and He's like, or is that not what you're doing to yourself right now? You've
Mm-hmm.
not resurrected yourself. And it
But you
just,
never thought of it that way, did
I
you?
never did. And it hit home. And I was like, man. And I really went hard in the paint, as they put it down. You know, I really got focused. I went from the class clown, so to speak, in this program to leadership in this program to leading classes to writing. I had the counselors would, instead of, they'd say go out and see them, I'd go out there and we would sit. I had one counselor that would be fired if they knew that he would call me out once a week, just sit and talk about God with me. Because of course that's not allowed.
No, they're trying to cut God out of anything in this country. So.
Drastically, and this man put his job on the line for those weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and he would sit and discuss God with me. He used to be a highway patrol, lost. He had a drinking problem, and left all that
Mm-hmm.
to go into recovery and help people. And he would just sit and talk about God with me. What is my perspective? And I would give him where I was reading my perspective, and that back and forth. It helped. It
Mm-hmm.
helped a lot. But so my outdate's coming up. I've been doing great in this program, but I'm still not going home because I had these felony warrants. I'm going to complete the program with flying colors, and then from there I will leave the program and go out to the yard until the time comes that I go out and go to court and then deal with these charges. And I'll never forget the day Miss Vest, which was the lady running the program, she said, comes over to the speaker, Mr. Shidler, need you to come to my office. And, you know, normally that was, I was either in trouble or warned, you know, because other than that, we hadn't had a lot of interaction.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 3 days before the day I was supposed to have my outbreak. And I walked out there and she said, well, you're going home.
Wow.
And I said, what? I got warrants. And she's like, no. So it's the craziest thing I ever seen. Look, and she lays two sheets of paper down, and you've got Laclede County, and you got Wright County. It shows charges dismissed, and it shows the date and time, right down to the second.
Mm-hmm.
At the exact same date, at the exact same time, to the second, Both counties dismissed charges. And you think, for me, these people can't get a phone call together.
Yeah, I've tried calling counties before.
You can't have one county calling another. You can for that. That wasn't an orchestrated. That was a God moment.
It had to be.
And she's like, "You're going home," and I was like, "Well, I'm not going home." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I'm not going home. I'm not going back to the things I've been in. I'm not going back to the people I've been around. I'm not going to none of it." And she's like, "Well, where are you going?" I said, "To a homeless shelter."
Hmm.
And she's like, "Okay." I said, "I'll call the girl I was seeing at the time and or was communicating with, because obviously in prison you don't see each other a lot.
Right.
I'll call her and I'll have her come pick me up." And I called her and I said, "Look, I'm not coming. I'm getting out."
Hmm.
She's like, "Oh, great. I'm so excited." I was like, "But I'm not coming home." She's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "I'm going to a homeless shelter." Of course, she thinks I'm insane at the time. What do you mean? But I'm like, "No, I'm going to a homeless shelter." And she's like, "All right, I'll be there to pick you up." And she was there to pick me up. And we spent the day together. Had something to eat. Drove from Bowling Green up here to Springfield, and she dropped me off at Victory Mission. It was late in the evening, and I got in there. In the morning, I moved over to the restoration program
Hmm.
with them, and from there, I started working at the warehouse and doing little things. The restoration program is a good program. It's a little more regimented than
You were used to, yeah.
what I wanted.
Right.
There was, there's opinions that go back and forth on where a person should be at in their
Hmm.
walk with Christ, and I feel that no other man can determine that. That's between you and God.
That's right.
And with that being my standpoint on it, uh, I was asked to either change some behaviors or leave the program,
Hmm.
and I chose to leave the program. Um,
You're the only one that can decide your walk. So,
and my pastor at the time told me, I said, I'd been talking, counseling with him. I was like, I don't know what to do. And he said, at the end of it, Gary, you'll know when it's time to go and you'll know when it's time to stay. No one else could ever
hmm,
determine that for you. You'll know the signs God's laid before you. And you'll know if you make a mistake in it, because it will start to crumble around
yeah,
you. I had a little bit of anxiety about it, because I was being told, well, if you leave this program, being on probation, you're going to violate your probation and you're going to go back to prison. But I hadn't been court ordered there, so to me that was just someone speaking at
right.
me. Um, and I knew that I'd left prison. When I left prison, I had my Bible, $58, and some writings. So I was like, man, I don't leaving a homeless shelter. I just like coming out of prison. I don't have nothing anyway.
Right.
And that night I slept behind a crack house on Grant Street. I was, the offer was I could come in,
Hmm.
but my heart was, no, you're not going back in. I slept back there with my Bible, some concordances, some devotionals, just my basic stuff. And one of the local charities that I'd been helping in the morning, I went to show up there. And when I showed up there, a man that I'd robbed, which was Dennis Cleveland at Affordable Towing, happened to be walking in at the same time. And he said, "You have a license?" I said, "I don't have a license. I can't even afford to get my license." And he said, "Well, we'll take care of that. I just need someone with a license."
Hmm.
So he paid that charity to take me to get a license to get me. I'm a driver. And by the end of the day, I had a license. In the morning, I had a job with him. By the end of that day, I wasn't sleeping behind the crack house, because that charity had moved me into one of their houses.
Wow.
That is God.
That is a blessing.
That is God.
Hmm.
And it's just there. Now, again, the criminal portion of you, or that street thing, is, man, I robbed this dude. what kind of job does he really got for me?
Yeah.
And you don't know him like I didn't know him like that. But I'm like, man, what does he have for me? What does this mean? He's got a job. Are you trying to get even with me for what I've done? Because some of us carry grudges for long times.
Right.
Or B, are you trying to get me to do something that I don't ever want to do again?
Mm-hmm.
So I got there and getting to know Dennis now, I would say he was just giving me a job.
Mm-hmm.
When I got there, I thought he was trying to get even. It is cold and it is winter time, and he puts me with probably one of the roughest people ever in life. This guy is like, if you touch my tools, they go back in their cases exactly the way they are, and if they're not, you won't have a paycheck. And at the end of the week, I'll look at my tools, and if anything's missing, that'll be deducted from your paycheck. And I don't have the tools to do the job Dennis wants me to do, which is get the cars ready to be scrapped.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm out here trying to figure out how to run a tow truck, which I've never done before, how to remove catalytic converters and get the oil, the fluids drained, get the tires off, what's good, what's not good. And I'm dealing with all this with this guy being difficult the whole time. Dennis wanted to know why it's taking me so long to get all the cars done. Me still having that tweaker side of me wanting to pilfer every car that we're scrapping. And they're like, well, you can have all the change you can find. Well, most of the cars are, they're getting scrapped. There's all kinds of change in there. So I'm walking around, pockets and balls down with change. Dennis is like, don't be on that side because them cars are not. it's just a mess all the way around, and I'm in the mud and I'm in the cold all day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm thinking, man, this guy's just getting even with me, but that's a job.
Right.
At this time, I'm attending Jobs for Life through Life 360,
Mm-hmm.
and they're teaching me about how to be a Christian at work.
Right.
And for whatever reason, the call for me to remain and just keep doing that, even though I had a job, seemed important because a lot of people will go to work as a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
work, and then leave as a Christian.
Right.
If that makes sense, we can be in there and you can cuss and scream, and the guys might be drinking. And granted, Christians do these things, but a Christian should behave better.
Right.
I struggle with that, Mark can tell you.
Yeah.
I struggle still
I
with
remember
it.
a story about a woman who was behind somebody that had cut her off, and she got to the stoplight and she was screaming and cussing and flipping him off and all this other stuff. And the highway patrolman pulled her over, and he said, I was sure this car was stolen because of that Christian fish on the back of your car and the way you were acting at the stoplight,
Yeah.
So, watch what you're doing out in public if you're going to call yourself a Christian.
Yeah.
You
I
need
mean,
to
people look for
walk a
reason to
line.
point us.
Mm-hmm.
They will look for those cracks in your armor.
Mm-hmm. And they can turn them into great big cracks really quick.
Oh yeah. For long, you don't have armor on, and you're like, oh, you're standing there naked with, like, oh man, what just happened?
Well, you're still at affordable, so you must have gotten through that winter okay.
Really, I'm not at affordable anymore.
Oh, you're not?
So when I was doing that Jobs for Life program and learning about Christianity
Mm-hmm.
and Christian concepts at work. You learn about how to value yourself,
Right.
and not just yourself, but those that you're working for.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, affordable cut my paycheck, but the people that I work for are the ones that I was doing the tire changes, the lockouts, the jump starts, the mobile mechanic work, the stuff like that. Those are actually my employer.
Right.
The other people just collect the money.
Mm-hmm.
I disagreed with the way some of the customers were treated. I disagreed with the concept of sending somebody uneducated out to work on $100,000 semi. And these are jobs that I was being given. I disagreed with it so much that I decided I was going to put myself into college and go through college to become a diesel tech. So then when I went there, I was giving the customer what he deserved,
Mm-hmm.
not just there. I feel if I see you on the side of the road and your tire is flat, I should stop and help you.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you have money or not,
Hmm.
but I should stop and help you because that's what we're called to do as Christians.
Right.
I disagree with that. They have a belief that it's you're trying to exploit that if you don't stop and help them, then they'll call us and then we'll make that money.
Hmm.
Not all money's good money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm one that always stops. It's like, okay, somebody's going to kill me on the side of the road maybe one day, but that's okay. God
I
and I are on good terms.
I I went in and I argued that and I told them that I don't agree with this and I would like to um, see things done different. And I was told that they've been that way. They're not going to change.
Hmm.
And I was and just kind of flabbergasted with it. At the time, um, just recently had gotten married and had a family that needed the support. And I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do walking away from here. My initial reaction was the impulsive one. Here's the company credit card. I'm out of here.
Right.
And I was like, no, I can't do that. I got to support my family.
Hmm.
I got called on to take a family of Hispanics to Texas by affordable, and I said, okay, I would. They put me in a van and sent me down there. Well, the 9 people in the van had COVID, and nobody knew that.
Oh, my.
So by the time I got to just south of Houston and dropped them off, I had COVID. And by the time I got back, I was in really bad shape.
Hmm.
Um, and from there, it placed me in isolation, and then from there, ICU and ICU and ICU and ICU. I spent 3 months fighting it.
Oh, my. That's a long time.
During that fight, I was, you're laying in bed, your family can't come in and see you, they can't be around you. Everybody's freaking out about COVID and COVID. And I was laying there and designed my dove. I took Noah's dove. I took the olive branch out and I put a wrench in it, and that became the signia for the company.
Hmm.
Then next thing you know, commercials being drawn and company foundations being laid. And during this time, the COVID's going on, the government's issuing all this money to keep businesses going. Affordable got thousands and thousands on PPP to buy new tow trucks. Here I am with COVID laying in bed building a company.
Hmm.
Everybody's like, you're insane. Everybody's shutting down. There's no money. We can't even come out.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do nothing. What makes you think you can do this? And I
The
you want
Lord put it
something
on my
better.
heart.
You want to give somebody something better. And if nobody else will do it,
Hmm.
someone has to. I remember my mom would be like, well, is anybody going to pick that up? Everybody in the house is stepping over the wrappers on the floor, and they're just stepping over and stepping over it. And then she would just go pick it up. And she's like, I don't even know why I talk about it. I just need to do it myself.
Hmm.
And that's a thing in life. You see something that needs improved on, we can speak on it, or you can make that change.
Right.
And I told Dennis I'm going to make that change, and I did. I started Affordable Roadside as an honor to Affordable Towing
Right.
because I had learned business from him. He didn't find that very humorous. He
It-
didn't. He was mad because I pulled the name Affordable on the front of it,
Hmm.
and he didn't feel that was acceptable. And he wanted me to change the name, and we're back and forth with it. And I'm like, man, you're gonna have to. I'm not changing it. I'm not changing it. The state of Missouri issued me that name. Nobody has that name. I can use that name, and that's what it is. And we backed and forth with it for a while until he finally said, "I'm suing you." I'm like, he said, "I'll take everything. I will take every penny you've made, your house, the trucks. I will take everything."
Hmm.
And I said, Dennis, I'm not going to change it. God gave me everything in this company, from the way it operates to the insignia to the name. And until God speaks to me and tells me to change it,
Hmm.
I won't.
Amen to that.
And he said, all right, do it your way then. We can do it the hard way. I was like, okay. About 20 minutes later, I get this voice, and they said, "Call him, call Dennis, and tell him this, and see how it goes." So I called him and I said, "All right, Dennis, I'm changing the name."
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, really, what are you changing it to?" I said, "I'm changing it to Abel's Affordable Roadside." And he said, "Abel's Affordable Roadside? I like that. That's cool. Why Abel's? Because you're able to do it." And I was like, "No, after Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were brothers, and you and I are brothers. And Cain tried to kill Abel.
Right.
And you're trying to kill my business, and I'm just trying to support my family. I'm one man with a truck. So I'm going to put Abel's in front of it in honor of you."
Mhm.
And he's like, "I love it." And I'm like, "You're an idiot." And I hung up with him. And it's been Abel's, and he and I are on good terms. I mean, he's been to the shop. We talk. I do work for
Mhm.
him. It's been an interesting growth. It's neat to watch how things have gone. In my shop, there is three pictures that hang. The picture of the chop shop my dad wanted me to be in.
Mhm.
The picture of my first shop, and the picture of the new shop, which is currently the largest shop in Springfield.
Oh, wow. You have progressed quite rapidly over the years, have you
And
not?
God has blessed me immensely,
Hmm.
probably more than I deserve.
Yeah, he'll do that if you turn to him. You can find blessings abundant everywhere if you would just take the time to get to know the Lord and understand what he wants from you, and walk that Christian walk. If you see somebody hurting or you see somebody in need, take a minute and talk to them. Do something and show them that there are people that care. Right now, we don't have a lot of people on the streets that even pretend to care about somebody. This is not the country I grew up in. Okay, I'm going to stand on that. This is not where I grew up.
I mean, the shop has taken a position that we try to seek someone that needs help,
Hmm.
and we fix their car. Most of the employees we've sought out because they need help, whether it be with addiction, loneliness, friendship, whatever is going on.
Hmm.
We've sought them, gave them a place, and it's became a home to them. Um, with most of us there, we've got a criminal background.
Hmm.
With that criminal background, we took from this community. So now, once a month, we have a semi load of food brought in, and we give it to the community.
That's amazing.
So we try to return what we've done. For me, I call this my redemption run. This is my road to redeem myself for what Christ has done for me. And granted, people say you don't owe nothing, but after a certain point and being given so much,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
you owe some obedience and some grace, and you owe that love, and you owe the things that.
yeah, you owe that owe it to yourself, if nothing else, to spread that love for Christ that he extended to you. So many people can't grasp that concept, and it breaks my heart. But you have done wonderfully, and I am so happy you came back to finish out your story with us.
I'm very
We're
proud of
running
that.
out of time. I see the Mark's back there pointing fingers, and we have to worry about Mark pointing fingers. Okay, even makes our dogs leave. But we want to thank you for joining us today, and we thank Garry for coming back again. Everybody can have a story like that if you just want to take the opportunity to open your heart and your mind to Christ and what he has to say to you in the Bible. And if you can't figure it out by yourself, look up Garry, look up Mark, look at me, whatever. We're all willing to sit and talk with any of you about it. So, but I thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.